recording, the video recording of our last meeting on the website, drop down off of the cab icon. Our first speaker to today is Ed Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am Ed Davis. I've been here at Eastgate for almost 32 years. Be 32 years the end of April. So most of my time here was in the transportation side, but I think when Tim Yova retired 8 years ago, they moved me over to handle the Ohio Public Works program. This is I believe this is my very first ever PowerPoint that I created myself. That I put together. I don't do this stuff. It's not my thing. And I really never had to, because usually I just get up and maybe I'll throw an Excel sheet or something up. So I decided to do something special now. You can figure out how to work it. Okay, the infrastructure side of the Ohio Public Works is what I'm going to speak about. It is made up of these different funding programs. The State Capital Improvement Program, that is the largest. That is one of the original ones when this program was first created. And then the Local Transportation Improvement Program, that one comes from gas taxes. That was added some years later. The revolving loan fund, that's money continues to keep coming back as communities pay it into that fund. The small government program, that is a statewide program. That is, there's $20 million in that. And that funding also comes from the State Capital Improvement Program. Emergency program, that's also a statewide program. These are all competitive programs. That money also comes from the State Capital Improvement Program. There's $12 million in that. And that is first come, first serve for communities that actually have an emergency. Okay, types of projects for this program. You can see on there, road, bridge, culvert, water, wastewater, stormwater. Now, I had mentioned the State Capital Improvement Program. That program can fund all these types. But that one that the local transportation, that one comes from gas tax. That program can only fund the road, bridge, and culverts. It cannot fund the water and wastewater because it comes from gas tax. It has to be tied to roads in some way. So a little bit more about the State Capital Improvement Program. This program is up for renewal this year. This program, which I'll show in a second, was created it started back in 1987, and it runs on a 10-year cycle, and it has to be renewed by the voters again. So this went through a process to get it on the ballot in May 6th of this year. It's a very important vote, so I encourage everyone to get out and support this. Just a little history of this particularly, it started, like I said, with the State Capital Improvement Program in '87. That's when it was first voted on. And you can see over to one side, almost 71% approved of this program. 10 years later in '95, which is not 10 years, but it was closer to 62%. And in 10 years, it was at 54%. But you can see by those asterisks, it was combined with some other stuff that maybe the voters were like, what is this stuff you're tacking onto this? But I was told that the one coming up this May, it is only for the State Capital Improvement Program. Nothing else has been tacked onto it. And this is for the state of Ohio to sell bonds, general obligation bonds, to fund this program. There's no taxes. You're not going to vote to raise your taxes. It's just to allow the state to sell bonds to fund this program. And that's the one thing that we need to stress. It's like when people go to the polls, you're not voting, it's not going to cost you anything. So and it is a very, very popular
Is
program.
that going to be made clear on the ballot?
I can't tell you that. And that's a great question, but not sure.
Has the ballot board written the ballot language yet?
That I don't know either.
No.
Yeah.
Let me be clear on this. Now, if the voters pass this on May 6th, nobody can touch this money. The governor can't cut it. The
Right.
legislature can't cut it. Congress, the US president can't cut it.
Right.
So it's guaranteed. If people pass it, the money is absolutely, definitely going to be there, right?
Yep, for 10 years. And you can also see in the amount column, started out $120 million per year. Then it went up, 20 years later, it went up a little bit to 150. And in these last 5 years, we were at 200 million. And the proposed ballot will have it at 250 million a year for 10 years. So that's really I don't know what that's gonna mean for our district, but that's really gonna help. So,
When we, well, I got two questions. Number one, on the small government program, what would I use that money for? Or how do I apply for small government program?
the small government program, that is a second chance for communities under 5,000 in population. So it's got to be a village or a township less than, so it doesn't count for you.
Yeah.
So first, all the communities have to submit their projects through the district first, our allocation. And if you don't make it there, then you can get sent down to Columbus for a statewide competition. And I'll mention that earlier, or
Okay.
a little bit later.
Thank you.
Any other one before I move on? Okay, we're going to talk about District 6. District 6 is our district, Trumbull County and Mahoning County. There are 19 districts in the state. Back when this program was created, I'm not sure how they decided to carve the state up, but they put Mahoning and Trumbull County together. And this is our 9-member committee. This is the committee that makes all the decisions. I don't make any decisions. I just help. I'm kind of like the secretary of this committee. I'm technically a District 6 liaison. But the county engineers, those are automatically a member. The county commissioners get to pick somebody for a 3-year term, and both Joe Muccio and Gary Newbrough work for the sanitary engineering offices. Sanitary engineers get a lot of projects through this program, so it makes sense. And then the 2 biggest cities, one in each county, so that's Chuck and Paul for each Youngstown and Warren. And then the small cities representative and the township representative, those are 5-year terms, and those switch every 5 years. So this term, the small city rep is from Trumbull County. So that's Mayor Ben Kyle from Hubbard. And then Tom Costello is Boardman Township trustee. When that 5-year term is over, I will go to the small city reps for Mahoning County and the trustees for Trumbull County. And it has to be a vote from the mayors and a appointment from the trustees for each one of those counties. And then there's a public sector member, Tim Yova. You guys remember Tim? He used to.
No,
No?
what's his background?
He used to work at Eastgate, and he actually ran this CAB for some years. And then he also had my job before me.
So is he a private citizen now?
Yeah, he retired.
Okay.
Yeah, he retired 8 years ago or something. And now each one of these members has an alternate. And that alternate, if those members aren't present, can vote for them. But that's the main guys right there. They're the ones that make every decision. Okay, District 6, our allocation. Grant allocation, this is for this round we're currently in. A little over $8 million. That is split up between that state capital improvement program and that local transportation improvement program. Those two programs have the grant dollars in them. And I just add them up to come up with that total number. Our district also had about 2 million in loan money this year, but we also had a huge balance in loan money. I think we had total loan money, it was probably 5 or 6 million because communities just, they don't want to take the loan money. Sometimes it's hard to use it, and it kind of looks bad for us to carry over, but
Is that because there's too many rules and regulations?
no, it's just, they don't want to have to pay it back.
Worried about paying.
Oh, a
Yeah.
loan.
Yeah, you know,
What's the interest rate?
zero.
Oh, 0.
It's 0% interest rate and they don't want it.
Oh, that's.
Even some of the, like, the water departments and the sewer departments, MVSD, they don't come and take the loan money that often. We have had, over the last probably 3 years, quite a few communities that have taken loan money to pave roads. That's how desperate they are. So we've used up a lot of loan money. And I'll show you in a table in a little bit. Also, I mentioned the small government statewide and emergency statewide. That's how much money is in those pots. All right, our yearly program here that we hold the meetings in this office for our District 6. Our annual meeting will be held in May, either May or early April. I might move it up because of the ballot on May 6th this year. That is when that District 6 committee, they approve our scoring methodology. And all these projects have to be scored, and that methodology is approved by them. And then it goes to the director of the Ohio Public Works, and she has to approve it. Once she approves it, we're good to go for the next year of funding. We'll have a workshop in June right here where I encourage all communities to come in, and we'll just talk through any issues people have had, what we're looking for in the pre-applications and stuff like that going forward. Our district is unique where we have pre-applications. I think maybe one other district in the whole state does a pre-application. Our pre-applications are due the end of August. And I designed the pre-applications to look very similar to the final application. But that pre-applications, they all come in. This is where it gets goofy. Last year we had 52 projects. Okay, so 52 projects came in. We have 9 committee members, 9 alternates. Well, I got to make a stack of
52
applications for each 18 stacks for all those members in envelopes, labeled and everything. But they don't want to change. They like the way that they've been doing that long before I got here. So that's the way they want it. So, okay. In September, we have what we call a 3-minute meeting where each community gets to stand up and talk about their project and try to sell it to the committee members. Then the first points meeting, that starts October. Let me back up one second. When the pre-applications come in, I score them based on what's in the pre-application. But the other points have to be assigned by the committee. So that first points meeting is when the committee has 2 categories where they assign points. Then we take 2 weeks off and come back, and then the final point meeting is that regional significance points. There's one category where the committee will assign regional significance to that project. After that's done, I add up all the points, and then send it back out to the committee. And we'll get together in usually first part of November for that confirmation and small government meeting. That is when the committee looks at, all right, we got this many projects. We got them ranked by score. I got the total number of grant requested that is being added up all the way down. We look at our allocation, that 8.3 million. If we have any balance, I add that in there. And then the committee will look and say, okay, how many projects can we fund? We usually go over 10% or so because we always have money rolling back in from projects. And then the committee will draw a line. They'll say, okay, all the projects above this get funded. Projects below that, they don't get funded. Now, if there's any small government projects below that line, they get to go for a second chance to the small governments program.
I was just going to ask you, is there any way once the line's that I'm below the line? I'm just saying, is there any way that I could do something to get above the line at that point? Or
No.
it's pretty much,
No.
it's struck?
Yeah.
Okay.
But does it carry over like to the next bidding period?
It does what?
The people below the line?
Well, they have to resubmit next year.
It's so
Yeah,
much.
next round of funding, you got to resubmit. And that gives you a chance to maybe submit a little better project, maybe change some things. Maybe you're asking for too much money. Because there's really a few tricks that if you do it right, you can't ask for too much money. If you're a little community, you ask for too much money, you're gonna miss out on a lot of points. And if you don't put enough local share in, I've been telling everybody, it's like, if you put in the max local points is 61%. You might think that's a lot, but small communities, if you don't put in 61% local share, you're going to miss out on a bunch of points. You might as well forget it. The big guys, the big communities, they can get away with not putting in quite as much, but the little guys, they can't. And you can't ask for too much money. $75,000, that gets you the most points. So ask for $75,000, put in 61%, and your chance of getting funded is very high. That's the two things you got to do. And people don't listen to me. It's like, it's amazing. Okay, so after we do the cutoff, we also have the small governments meeting right after that meeting where we select, where each district's allowed 5 small government communities to send down projects. So we select them and then rank those. And then the final applications are due closer to Christmas. And they are due in an online portal. Each community has to go in there and fill in the application. I get to review the applications, and if anything's missing, contact the communities. And then after Christmas, early part of January, I have to take all those applications that are in there and I have to sort them. I have to put them in which category they're going to get funded. Are they going to be a state capital improvement program? Are they going to be a local transportation improvement program? The revolving loan fund? And each one of those categories has to have a useful life of 20 years. This is in the law. So you take, let me think how to do this. You got to take the total project cost. You figure out a life cost, and then you add all those up, and then you'll get an average useful life of that project. Because they don't want, OPWC does not want a project coming in that has a useful life of 5 years.
Yeah.
That's not what they're looking for. That's not what this program's about. They want a good project that's going to last a while. And that's one of a scoring point is useful life. You know, you can get, I know we can't have a bunch of paving projects submitted. Most paving projects are 10 years, maybe 15 years if we're lucky. And that doesn't meet that 20-year useful life. So we got to have those water projects and sewer projects that have 50-year useful lives. Bridge projects, 50-year useful lives. Culverts, get much more useful life out of those. We need those projects or nobody gets funded. Then once I separate all those out into the right funding category, I submit the slate down to Columbus. I did that just a few weeks ago. And then our representative down there, she reviews all the projects. I haven't heard anything from her. She signs them project IDs. And then this January or July 1st, project agreements will go out to each community. And as soon as you get your project agreement, you sign it, you e-sign it, and then you can move forward with your project. You cannot move forward. You can bid the project, but you cannot start any construction or anything until that agreement is signed. That agreement is between the community and the Ohio Public Works Commission. At that point, we're out of it. Eastgate's out of it.
When does that come?
July 1st.
Is it possible for adjacent communities to file a joint application
Yep.
for a project that affects all of them?
Yeah, yep. We had this year, you and Hubbard did it this year. Brookfield did it with, what's the little tiny community up there? Yankee Lake. Yeah, those two had one, and then Trumbull County and Lordstown had one this year. And that gets you extra points in the scoring criteria. That gives you extra points. So that's definitely a good thing. So like I said, we had 52 pre-apps this year. And we ended up getting 48 funded. And I'm going to bring up this table is actually, it's got a lot more columns when I'm working all the points and everything into it. It is crazy. But you can see project name, like here's the grant request. And this is a local commitment. See there, their local commitments is 66%. And this also, Orangeville, that was also a joint project with the township in Pennsylvania. That one scored so high, it was crazy, 95. So this top portion is the SCIP, the State Capital Improvement Program I've been talking about. Scroll that one down. And then the next group down below is the LTIP. That's the local transportation one. That's the one that comes from gas tax money. So all those projects in there, those are gonna be road projects, road, bridge, culvert projects.
Sidewalk.
No, they won't fund them. Then we got loan projects. We got 4 loan projects. A lot of times the loan projects, you'll get more points if you just ask for 100% loan and don't even kick any local money in. It makes more sense. I'll tell communities, just take 100% loan.
I see a couple resurfacing projects on that group just above here.
Yeah,
Are they going to go through?
these are all funded. All these projects here are all funded for July 1st of this year.
So those are 20-year, the resurfacing?
Well, if you look at this is the useful life of these projects. Springfield Township. This is more of a culvert and ditch project. They had a 49-year useful life for that project. But here's 12 years for Austintown. That's just paving. 10 years for Poland Village, just paving. 15 paving, 15 paving, 16 paving. Most of them are paving jobs. But the ones where you get maybe some new curb and gutters and stuff like that, that's going to bring that useful life up. And then this year, we only had 2 projects for the small government program. It's Mesopotamia Township and Farmington Township. Both these projects are what they call reclamation projects, where they go out and they grind up the entire road, the base and everything. They grind it all up, they regrade it, shape it, and they come over and put a new chip and seal on top of it, like a new surface on top of it. Those projects usually score very well. In those two projects, because they're going down to that small government program, we won't find the fate of those until May. So we got our fingers crossed, but we won't know. And then at the bottom, there's only 2 unfunded projects this year that didn't score high enough.
This chart on the website somewhere?
No, I don't have it on the website. Okay, I just threw these 2 little facts in that I've been collecting these facts to give to people for the renewal this May. And from what I added up, our district, 2 counties in the 39 rounds of funding have 1,500 projects funded. In 400 million in OPWC money, grant and loan towards those projects. That was quite amazing to me. You got to remember, that's 400 million in OPWC funding. You add in that local share project, that's a lot of projects got done there. And this is just a little chart. And this is also from the beginning, the 39 rounds of funding. Funding by government type. So you have cities in blue, counties in that pink color, townships in gray. Just give you an idea where the money's going to. And then this one is project infrastructure type. So the road is that pink color, the road, the paving projects, bridge and culverts are in that dark blue, or no? Yeah. I can't even tell which one's which now. The gray is the stormwater. It's interesting. Early days of this program, there were a lot of stormwater projects. Townships had lots of stormwater. Now it's paving. That's their need now. I just threw in a couple pictures. So Stephanie didn't show me up with her slideshow. Okay. This is Beaver Township culvert replacement. West Farmington. I got a whole West wastewater treatment plant built up there. Trumbull County built this tower in Weathersfield Township. And this is a stormwater project near Canfield High School to try to help with all their flooding they have out there. And that's it. Question. You guys asked a lot of questions during things.
Yeah.
And Eastgate would really appreciate your support in voting for this program and getting the word out.
Do you have
Basics.
any thing on your website? I don't know if you can urge people to vote on your website.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how to do that.
How about flyers? Do you have flyers too?
I don't have flyers. I was hoping to get something more from OPWC. They have, oh, this is a good one. I could show you this map real quick. This is a map. This is from 2012 to maybe 2022. And this map shows all the OPWC projects that were built. Now, most of them are paving projects, but there's some sewer, water projects, stormwater projects in there. And you probably can't tell what's what, but this is our 2 counties. Like if I zoom into the city of Warren, look at Warren. Some of the bigger, like Boardman Township, they'll submit maybe 20 different roads per year and get them paved. But the Ohio Public Works, their website, they do have some information on it.
I can tell you anecdotally, years ago, the costs from OPWC came here, and I covered his talk for the Vindicator when I was reporter for the Vindy. And I asked him, are you urging people to vote for this? And he said, I can't say that. I can give people the information, but I'm not supposed to say, vote for this. So,
Yeah, I don't know if I'm supposed to say that, but I'll do it anyway.
but that might still be OPWC's position. They don't advocate, they just give information.
Yeah. And I know that was when the director was going through the process of getting this on the ballot, dealing with the General Assembly, you know, he's like going out and giving presentations, but it was just, this is the program, you know, just the facts. So she went ahead and put this information on their website that explains a bunch of stuff. And they have statewide charts. I took their statewide charts and just made the same charts with our districts. I wanted to see the differences, so. But yeah, they got a lot of facts on there.
Hike and bike trails be funded by capital improvement? No.
Nope, it's just for roads, bridges, culverts, water, wastewater. Normal infrastructure.
Cycling is on a road, would they be eligible for funding under this program?
I would say no.
No,
I would say the OPWC portion would do for the paving part for the cars. And then the other stuff could be local money. Because there's always local money in the project, so they could use the local money for the other stuff. But then I don't think that's ever come up. So. Any others?
I think you're very interesting.
I just had one other question, Ed.
Okay.
Capital Works, so that does not include structures, kind, does it?
It can.
Like
It can, because Youngstown, a few years ago, built a pipe storage facility at their wastewater treatment plant
Okay.
with loan money.
Okay.
So
What about something like a bus depot or a train depot or something like that?
I wonder that's never come up, but I mean, who would be you have to have a project sponsor. So a train depot, who would be the project sponsor for a train depot?
I don't know, but I'm just thinking.
It can't be a private company at all.
well, Columbiana, East Palestine, possible Amtrak stop, you know, I mean, along an existing Amtrak route, something like that, maybe, I don't know.
I wouldn't think so.
No.
I've never heard of that before, so. But that would be a question if the community wanted to think about that. We'll take it to Columbus and ask them.
Okay.
So. All right, I don't even know how to get out of this. I'm hitting escape. It doesn't work. How about that?
I'm interested.
What you gonna do? See what you do.
I think
You just,
something.
All right.
We'll talk about it later.
No, actually, I don't want to talk about it. I just assume forget about it.
And then bullets and numbering. All right, Stephanie, you want to update us on some of the clean out programs?
I too have a little presentation because I always like having pictures and just visualizations just personally. So I'm the green space side, the green component to the Ohio Public Works. So we deal with the conservation program, and included in conservation is also stream and wetland restoration. So as I go through this presentation, just keep those ideas in mind. So the background to the initial slide here is actually a restoration project that took place in Liberty Township's Churchill Park. So there's the Squaw Creek that goes through it. And this was the main creek, the drainage area. So if you can imagine where this creek was coming from, up by the Metroplex, that area, as well as Belmont Avenue, drains right into this stream and or its tributaries. So you can imagine the quantity of water that was hitting that stream and degrading it over time. And in fact, there was a baseball field off to the side that they had to use the orange snow fencing to keep the kids from falling in as they were catching the balls. So I think they had to stop that altogether as the stream banks were severely eroding. So Clean Ohio was used to restore the stream, as well as kind of grade the slope down into the stream and allow the stream to re-access its floodplain to an extent. And it was made safer for people who would go through the park. So Clean Ohio, the conservation side was created in 2001, again, voted by Ohioans, but we're a little bit different. We don't have those bonds that are funding the program. It is funded through the state capital budget. And our district, District 6, again, Mahoning and Trumbull counties, we get allocated about 1.25 million each year for the program, but that doesn't include the amounts that carry over from round to round. So we are in our 20th funding round. So I took over the program again when Tim Yova had retired. But I was kind of involved in the background when I started at Eastgate in 2003. So I'm somewhat familiar with it, but I'm just, over the past 8 years, have been really heavily involved in the program itself. So the eligible projects, one of them is land acquisition. So we encourage our local park developments, whether it's the county or it's the city, to come forward if they want to acquire land to expand parks or to create a pocket park within their community. This is a program that they could use it for. We have, OPWC has a 25% match requirement for the program. And included with that is the preservation of wetlands, stream corridors, and any type of protection of sensitive animal populations or plant species. Another acquisition, this was several rounds ago. This was the village of New Middletown. This was Welker Park. And what they did was they came to Clean Ohio to acquire additional land right here off of what is Struthers Road. And this was the property that they acquired. So they created like a little aggregate trail for folks. And they do have a nursing home that is right off of this driveway, I believe. It's right here. There's a nursing home in the back. So sometimes the folks will come over and they'll enjoy a concert that goes on in the park. And then they usually take walks or what have you, do some exercising back there. But that was one of the main components of their project, was to acquire land to expand their community village park. The riparian and stream restoration, we don't see too many of these come through. I'm surprised because the amount of streams, like, I don't want to say we've reached our capacity for land acquisition through Clean Ohio, but I think we may have, in the respect of, we know that we have land that should be preserved and conserved, but there's also streams that are flowing through those land that could use those additional funds to be restored and put back into its natural channel. So this was the stream I was talking about in Churchill Park. You can see the orange snow fencing. This is the stream looking up towards the Metroplex right there. So you can imagine the amount of volume that is coming through. But what Clean Ohio encourages is any type of natural restoration that will restore the stream's function. So natural channel design. We're looking at the water re-accessing its floodplain. Bank stabilization, such as the case in here. Doing what we can to keep the bank from sloughing off even more. So even though they graded the bank off to the west there was some stream down, there was some bank downstream that they had to use some rock stabilization to create a little more stability so that the erosion didn't continue to eat away at the stream. Another component to stream restoration is revegetating that riparian area. Again, the floodplain connectivity and habitat protection. This is another example of what the stream, well, the baseball field looked like. So this was a little more downstream, and part of the restoration took place. You could see these were some high tension, what are those, the high wires that the utility easement had in there. And so there is a little bit of erosion going on there, but because they restored the stream is going to reconnect a little bit more out this way into its floodplain and kind of push its way outwards that way with some natural channel design. So what they were doing is when they go in there, putting in some features, some rock features that'll push more of that water energy towards the other side of the bank so that you don't see the infrastructure falling in after years and years of erosion. Another eligible project is improvements. Some of those entities, like the metro parks, will come back to Clean Ohio, and after acquiring a parcel of land, they'll want to do some improvements. And what we mean by that would be parking lots, signage, and trails. So anything that is going to make the property accessible, available and accessible to the public so that they can go and use what their dollars have been used for, which is the preservation. So this is an example of the trails that is in the Springfield Forest, which is a Mill Creek Metro Park site now in Springfield Township. The stone steps that are there actually go down to a really cool fishing pier that they have. It's the fishing area is an old abandoned surface mine. So it has reclaimed itself as a surface lake, and they created hiking trails, natural trails. Some of them are just wood chipped, others are gravel. But this property is located adjacent to the turnpike. So it's kind of like a nice little area in the township that doesn't really have a park at all, but now they do. Same thing was done over in Smith Township with Sebring Woods. The Metro Parks, they had their master plan of where they wanted to go and extend their footprint. Sebring Woods was created through the Clean Ohio Green Space Program years ago. They acquired the land, and now folks in Smith Township or in the village of Sebring have a park to go to. The eligible applicants for Clean Ohio include the counties, municipalities, villages, townships, conservancy districts such as Western Reserve Land Conservancy has been an applicant in our district for several years. Soil and water districts, and you can see the park districts authorities and nonprofit corporations, as long as you have environmental conservation within your tax identification. If you don't, then you're not an eligible entity for Clean Ohio fund dollars.
What does that look like?
So for example, it could be the land, there's Trust for Public Land. West Creek Land Conservancy would be another one. Land banks could, if they have that within their I don't know how they fill out their tax forms, but it has to have that environmental conservation component in their mission statement per se. Just like Ed's council for the integrating committee or the infrastructure side, we have a natural resource assistant council for the Clean Ohio side. Our council is typically 11 members. We're shy 1 or 2 seats right now because we've had trouble finding a representative for one of the categories, but we should be back on task after this upcoming funding year. But our natural resource assistant councils, or NRACs, are made up of local folks. So they're both from Mahoning and Trumbull counties. They're local. We have folks from the county engineer's office who work in the stormwater section of it. So they bring various background knowledge about stormwater. We have the soil and water conservation districts that bring their expertise to the table. We have the park districts, Mill Creek Metro Parks, Trumbull County Metro Parks, and several different people from other communities within the 2 counties. Their jobs are to set our calendar. So our calendar will start on March 1st when our allocation is set. And we will have our annual meeting in, I think it's May. And then our applications aren't due until September, with the final applications being selected by our local committee at the end of October. So we will have everything submitted to OPWC. It's our recommendation that these are the projects we would like to see funded, and OPWC will have the last sign off on them. They are in charge of reviewing and scoring the projects, and they develop the methodology that is used to score the projects. So again, these are local folks who have that background knowledge in the environmental realm of things. So it's, the biology, it's the stream components, it's the wetland components. They have that background that they're bringing to the table as they're going through and scoring our projects. And they are in charge of reviewing and making changes to any district application project that we have. So like Ed, I am just the liaison between OPWC and our local communities. So here's some district facts. So far, we have preserved 7,976 acres in Mahoning and Trumbull counties. Most of those include expansion projects. So one of them was Coy Memorial Park in Green Township, Mahoning County. Braceville Nature Preserve expansion just took place this past round in round 19. That was by Trumbull County Metro Parks, and that was an extension of of an area along the Mahoning River in Braceville Township. And what was cool about that site was it not only preserved, linear feet of Mahoning River stream, but it also had wetlands, and it had these oxbow lakes that have been obviously disconnected from the main stem. So they're little nook areas where these, where provides perfect habitat for bugs and fish for when that area floods and the waters recede back into the river. Those oxbow lakes are left there for those communities to continue to repopulate. Those are some cool things that, come with some of the projects. Riparian corridor preservation, Axe Factory Run, Cranberry, those are both Mill Creek tributaries to the Mahoning River. Very proactive, again, with their stream restoration. And then the Grand River, we have Mosquito Creek, which I can't say enough. Mosquito Creek is one of the most critical corridors in our area, based on the amount of wetlands and the sheer factor of the meandering and just the nature of that stream. It's so important to protect, and I'm so thankful to see that those communities in Trumbull County have recognized that and have supported the applicants and the applications that have come through to preserve some of those lands. And we have the creation of the new parks that I just mentioned, Sebring Woods and Springfield. And back in the day, I would say probably in the early 2000s, there was an environmental learning lab parcel of land that was purchased by the Camel City Schools. And that is all. I forgot how many slides I had, but anyway, that is the Clean Ohio program. Do you have any questions with regards to it? I know it goes hand in hand with all the other programs that I work with, but.
I see that in one of the grants, you built steps and trails in the Springfield Woods for the Mill Creek Metro Parks. Are you allowed to spend Clean Ohio money on construction of boat launches for canoes and kayaks?
I think that is one area that the NREC actually has control to decide whether they want to fund it or not. There's certain things that come into the realm of what does our district want to see funded? So that could be one of the inclusions. So is that like disc golf parks, equestrian trails, things of that sort. So that would be one thing I would double check on though.
And NRAC stands for?
Natural Resource Assistance Council.
And that's a local group here in District 6.
Yes. Yes. So we have one member from the integrating committee. We have a member from Soil and Water. Those two are mandated to be on the committee, and everybody serves for a 3-year term. So, oh, there's one cool thing real quick. If you go to Eastgate's website, we have mapped out all of the Clean Ohio projects that we have had so far. So under environmental planning, there's that. And scroll down. I think we're as recent as round 18. You might be behind. So you can scroll around and take a look at some of the examples that we've had. So in round 18, we had 2 projects funded, and these were the ones. I give you a little bit of detail as far as like what was included in the project, how much it cost, 150,000, which is typical for improvements that we've seen come through. So it's not too expensive to come to Clean Ohio. I mean, we're going to have over $2 million for the Clean Ohio side this upcoming round, which will be round 20, which I think is a lot considering the amount of projects. We have more funding than we do projects coming in right now. So.
I told her I'd take it.
Oh, yeah.
Take it for paving.
We'll slide it over. Can you include the engineering cost along with the project?
Yes,
In the
so, yes, so all your design work can be reimbursed with the Clean Ohio Fund. So acquisition, the closing costs, any type of environmental assessments, those get included,
Okay.
yes. And so same with ES program, everything is submitted through online through a portal. OPWC has their forms, and then our district actually creates a supplemental form of things of areas that we're looking to score additional points for. So, might be sensitive habitat species, biological communities. There's a list of things that we assign points to, so. Yes.
Is there any talk of like combined sewage overflow going into the Mahoning of like how that's eventually going to be fixed?
It's not addressed through this program. So that might be an infrastructure program for sure because of the wastewater side of it. But yeah, that's more the infrastructure. Ours would be more of, okay, well, how can we restore the stream, the Mahoning River or one of its tributaries? So how can we recreate its natural function?
Yeah.
As always, you are a wonderful audience. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Ed and yourself are more than welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting. Thank you. Justin, the general policy board meeting, our CAB representatives want to coordinate with Justin to discuss what we're going to present at the board meeting. And that's next, the first Monday in March. You would have an attack today, please?
Yeah, I can. So just a couple agenda items on our TAC meeting agenda today. Went pretty quickly, but some really good information on some projects that I think, a project that we haven't necessarily talked a whole lot about to date, as well as some more recurring things that are on a cycle that only come up so frequently. But first up was the Valley Vision Parks assessments. So Valley Vision is this project that Eastgate has partnered with other organizations like the Port Authority, the Chamber, Valley Economic Development Partners, Lake to River, and the Youngstown Foundation. Really, it is focused on economic development, but from a few different perspectives. A small portion of that project had a tie-in to our housing plan that we had unveiled just a couple weeks ago. But the other aspect of it that Eastgate's involved in is how do parks play into economic development? So where we're at in this project is a team of our staff has gone out and done field verified parks assessments for all of the parks in Mahoning and Trumbull counties. So 120 parks in Mahoning County, 79 parks in Trumbull County. Each one of those had a person go out, use a standardized methodology that we worked with a lot of local partners like Trumbull County Combined Health District and Trumbull Metro Parks, as well as Mill Creek Metro Parks and a few other stakeholders that were tied into the Healthy Community Partnership that's run by the Community Foundation of Mahoning Valley, as well as a tie-in to a program from YSU called GwynFit that is focused on active recreation and healthy outcomes. So develop this methodology to do these assessments at all the parks. And I'll actually bring this up on our website. This is, I think, fresh as of a couple hours ago, maybe. Put this up on our website. So it'll get prettier over time, but pretty functional as it is. Okay. So under the projects tab, under planning and development, you'll see Valley Vision Parks Plan. So the big component here is our map, which kind of shows current status of a lot of these parks. So this will allow you to see the location of all the parks. And then once it loads, we can click on one of the dots and you'll see some of the criteria that were measured through this assessment. And you'll be able to go through and see kind of what the status of those parks are. The thing to note is this, like most data, is a snapshot in time. The day after we went out there to do these assessments, they could have come through and made some improvements. Who knows? Or taken stuff away. Who knows? Broadband, something else we work on. We're not there. Anyway, I'll make sure this link is in the meeting notes. You guys can all check it out. Really cool. You can zip around the map, click on the dots that show up. I promise they're there, and see that information. But where all this will eventually go, and we'll kind of build this out on this webpage, as things start to take shape, is we're going to prioritize these parks based on their economic development impact. And we're using a few tools to really kind of rank order which parks could have the most potential for investment. Then we'll work with a team that's really specialized in kind of park planning and park improvements to really set the course on what are the most critical park needs for these specific locations. What do the community members around it really want to see and really find value in, and be able to put together these park improvement plans to hand over to the managing agency, whether that's a local community or an independent park district, or if it's a private park that kind of runs and maintains their own operations and does their own fundraising. But we can give them this plan that says, this is what the people that utilize your facility really find valuable and need. And here's how you make it happen. And some of those fixes could be short-term fixes. Some of them could be far off pipe dreams that, would really be transformational. But that's kind of where this will all come together. We'll put together kind of a final summary report that talks about some of our findings, showcases some of those individual park improvement plans, and also talks about some of the data that we've discovered as we're doing research on the actual impact on economic development that parks have. Because I think that's something that tends to get overlooked with parks, park spaces, recreation, and things like that, is they have a meaningful impact on quality of life. And you can't just make a job available if you don't also have a place that people want to be and stay. So that's how we're tying all that together. Really interesting project that allows us to get into kind of the park planning space, which isn't typically an area that we dig into too much, but pretty interesting.
I don't see Mill Creek Metro Parks on that list.
It's its own entity.
Yeah, I'll have to double check on that. I know we had a couple conversations with them. I know, in terms of some of the park assessments, I don't know that they were able to kind of go out with us and do that. That may be kind of what's shown in this list, is kind of who contributed to those parks assessments. One of the other things that if the map were working, you'd be able to see is there's some initials on the pop-up box that'll show up. Hey. So if you click one of these dots, you'll get a pop-up box, and you'll see all of the responses. Some of these are left blank because it's not applicable to that particular location. But as you're going through, you'll see it's a pretty substantial kind of rundown of park amenities that was included for the data collection. But if you zoom, you'll kind of get some pictures that were taken on the day that the park assessment was done. It talks about, some just anything you could possibly want to know about that particular park. But we do have data on who collected each of these assessments and the time and date of when they were collected and all of that. So interesting information that we could go back to and cross-reference, how that all came together and if we notice some inconsistencies in the data. But yeah, fun to play around with.
How long has this assessment been around?
This is fresh. We just started this, I want to say in November.
Okay. And who was behind the initiative to start this? What was the impetus for?
The big effort
I mean, I
here-
think it's great. I just wonder who started it.
Yeah, the funding for this came from both Mahoning and Trumbull County Commissioners. They took a portion of their ARPA funding to contribute to the entire Valley Vision project, which includes a lot of like traditional economic development work that organizations.
So the commissioners initiated it.
Maybe not initiated, but
I just wondered.
I think they were sold on the
whose
idea. Yeah. It really was born out of a committee of organizations with Eastgate, the Chamber, the Port Authority, Valley Partners, and the Youngstown Foundation. Lake to River Economic Development that was created kind of midway through this process came in partway through. And I think this effort was to show that all of these organizations can work together towards economic development in a variety of different ways. So each of us have our own specializations, our own areas where we're able to contribute. Obviously, some of those organizations do more heavy, intense economic development work than we do as a planning agency. So they're the ones interfacing with industry and businesses for kind of site development type work, whereas specialization is planning. So that's kind of where we fell into this project.
Could, during your assessment, how did we so-called stack up? Do we have too many parks?
Yep.
Do we have not enough parks? Or strategically, do we need to relocate some of these?
That's a great question. And geographic distribution of parks was something that we've been talking about in terms of how do we want to analyze the data that we've collected. It's not something that has a very good or clear answer because there are metrics for park density in terms of recommendations for what communities should strive for. There's a lot of caveats and context to that, though, that I think gets lost when you're purely analyzing quantitative data. So we've shied away from answering that question specifically. It is rattling around in our brains as we're going through all of this. So we may come full circle and have something to share on that when we finally wrap this up. But yeah, great question.
I'm curious if the Mill Creek Metro Park Spikeway and the Western Reserve Greenway, is that considered a contiguous park? Or?
Another good question. That's one I would have to follow up with Trisha and Joey, who have kind of led that from our office. If I had to guess, trailheads were probably what were identified as parks rather than the actual trail itself.
And then I know Trumbull Neighborhood Partnership had gone around and actually interviewed people around a certain area to see what they wanted into that park.
Yeah, TNP has been a great partner
Did
on
you
this.
take in that data?
For sure, yeah. And I believe they actually had some people go out and do some of these park assessments to help us kind of catalog.
A few
the data
years
as well.
ago, actually. So I'm glad it's coming.
Yeah, this didn't start from nothing. This really, the project itself started at the Trumbull County Combined Health District, who was already doing this work through a grant that they received through a different source. So when we were kind of tasked with this through Valley Vision, we had known about this project that's going on and said, hey, how do we build this out, complement what you're doing, and actually improve the impact and grow it beyond kind of just the initial scope of what you were planning to do. So that's been a great partnership.
Good collaboration.
Yeah. Okay, next up on the agenda was the fiscal year 2026 to 2029 draft transportation improvement program. This is one of those cyclical kind of projects that comes up and is a requirement of our agency. Joey had shared his presentation that he gave earlier today with me. I am not the expert in this material, but Joey is. So I have some notes that I'll read as we kind of go through this. The Transportation Improvement Program is a document that has to be submitted every 2 years to USDOT. And it has to cover a period of no less than 4 years. So these are our transportation infrastructure funding projects that come through our agency. And where we're at currently in the process is we have a first draft of the document. It's up on our website. I'll show you the webpage where you can go and take a look at it. But essentially, it's already been submitted to ODOT for review, and we're now kind of opening it up to make sure that we've covered everything that we need to. It's got a pretty lengthy process from here on out, but we've kind of just stepped on first base to get this project rolling. The document focuses primarily on highway and transit projects in our transportation planning area. So anything that's receiving funding through our office or anything that has federal funding in our region has to be listed on the tip. If it's solely state funded or funded through ED's program, not going to show up here. So just kind of a little bit of context for what types of projects come through this. So these are just kind of some snapshots from the document itself. You'll also see in there a listing of all the projects that are broken out with a short description, the project type, and all of the funding sources that they're using. So great level of detail here that gives you a full picture. Just for kind of statistics sake, there's 130 projects listed in the plan for roughly $444 million. Like I had mentioned, transit projects are also included in this. So we work with WRTA really closely to make sure all of those projects are accurate and listed so that they can receive the funding that they need for their projects. And then we have to be what's called fiscally constrained. So we cannot list projects if we don't actually have the funding to make good on them. This is one of the areas where it kind of keeps us honest, and we have to make sure that we're doing the appropriate planning to make sure that we're spending the money appropriately. We're not over or underspending. So this is really a good planning tool for us to help our local communities figure out what's possible for these types of projects. Also included are performance measures. Many times we follow what the state's performance measures are, but in certain circumstances, we'll kind of create our own to make sure that we're tracking things appropriately in terms of the impact of these projects. And then the last part of this is we do an environmental justice analysis for all of the projects. We identify areas that have high population, high minority population, a high population that are low income, and then census tracts that have both of those criteria. Evaluate both of these, all of these projects with these criteria and figure out if there is a positive or negative impact and make sure that that data is clearly communicated through the plan. So, like I had mentioned, it's up on our website. If you go under programs, transportation tab, look for Transportation Improvement Program, you'll be able to find the draft document. It's listed as the second one down because the top one is the current tip that we're currently operating under. So fiscal year 2026 to 2029, the draft document is there with that green button at the bottom there. And then just some upcoming dates for a timeline. March 3rd is when we can have to have all of our project list changes sent in to ODOT. You'll see second draft is due March 10th. And then March 11th through April 11th is our public comment period. April 3rd, we will have a public meeting, and that just so coincides with the date of our next CAB meeting. So lucky for you all, Joey will be here to explain this in way more detail and more eloquently than I can, all leading up to April 30th, when we can send it off to the feds for approval. And then once we receive the approved document back, we're good to put it on our website July 1st and get rolling. Yeah, as that date comes closer for the public meeting, I'll make sure that the information's shared and we can have a conversation with Joey about that in April. And then lastly is another new thing on our website that Eric has so diligently worked to get put together. So under the About section, there's a new page called Public Participation. This is really going to be the home for all of our public engagement for any of our projects that require that, as well as partner organizations. So if local communities have projects that are going through a public engagement process, they can let us know that that's occurring and we can make sure that we're making that available and known on our website as well. And Justin, as an example, we left up the roundabout public engagement process for 46 and New Road in Austintown. This was through ODOT, not public engagement of our own, but an example of how we can direct people to opportunities to share their thoughts on projects. So this public engagement is currently closed. I think they just wrapped it up recently, but definitely wanted to have an example there. The other thing that we have currently open is our public participation plan, which is one of our kind of establishing documents that kind of guides and sets a baseline for how we conduct public engagement and take public input on our work. So on this page, you can find a link to the plan, the document itself, kind of dig through, read through and see what you think. And then if you have comments, thoughts, suggestions, complaints, gripes, discussions, this green button here sends them directly to Eric.
I like that.
So feel free to dig into that. Let us know what you think. We want to make sure we get this right because this really sets the foundation for the work that we do in terms of public input. It guides a lot of how we structure some of how we talk about things here at CAB. So a lot of kind of integration and we point back to this document pretty regularly. And it's one of the things that we are federally required to maintain for our transportation certification as well. So very important that this is done right and is helpful to everyone. I think that's everything from that. Any questions on any of that?
I think the only thing we have for our internal housekeeping is our board's handbook. We'll get that up on the site.
Yeah, so this is pretty exciting. See if I can share it. I think I know. 1 second. So this came about, a few people have asked about something like this over the last 2-3 years, maybe, is some kind of handbook orientation guide. We've had a few different iterations of this throughout time. One of which, from best I could tell, is from 1978. So pretty snazzy and flashy. I'll kind of pass this around. You guys can all take a look and flip through that while we're talking. Another one that we got, I think, was maybe 2018-ish, 2017, 2018. So this may look more familiar. We've been around for a few years. Using both of these is kind of foundational for kind of what I'm putting together now, as well as there's an organization, and I'm going to screw up their name. It's the Municipal Research and Services Center of Washington. They actually have a guidebook on how to put together handbooks for local government citizen advisory boards. Seems too easy, right?
There's no excuse.
Yeah. So with that, I've been working through putting together some of the content that will make its way into a handbook for this group. Right now I'm at 13 pages, which I'll kind of skip right to the end. Yeah. Hey, there you go.
He went that much time.
So I have 13 pages. A lot of this is still in bullet point form, like layout and skeleton. So it's going to grow a bit and I'm going to have to cut back. But essentially what this is going to be is really a guide that anybody can use, whether you're a long-term member, you're brand new to the group, if you're interested, if you have no idea what CAB is. I want it to cover all bases and be something that people can go to and say, I don't know anything. How do I learn about it? So really covering from start to finish, what is Eastgate? What is the CAB? What role does the CAB play within the broader organization? How does it work? How do we operate? We did our policies and procedures document a few months ago. That information is going to make its way into here as well. Talk about how we make decisions, the positions we have, the roles that those positions hold. Voting procedure that we talked about. We vote through email now. So that's something radically different from, certainly what's in that document and even more, less so from the most recent one. But really want to lay everything out there and have one solid piece of material that we can give to people to let them know what we're all about, what we do here, why it's important, and what it means for you all to spend your time here. I think that's really important because I think it's powerful, and I think sometimes that can get lost in kind of the procedural humdrum of coming to a meeting, hearing us present, asking questions. So working on this, like I said, I still have a little bit more work to do on it, but definitely wanted to show off some progress. On the CAB website, I will make kind of a section for the development of the CAB handbook, and I'll upload some documents of the progress so far. So once that's ready, look for an email. You'll be able to kind of dig into what I've put together so far. Please let me know if you love certain parts, if you hate certain parts, if you have recommendations, suggestions. This is really your document. I'll get you started and I'll pull it together in the end, but you drive the ship on this one.
So we'll put that on the agenda for the next few meetings.
Absolutely, yeah. This will be something we kind of talk about probably April, May, and hopefully we wrap up in July. But that's what we'll target. So any thoughts at this point, early questions? You haven't really seen a whole lot, but just.
I like the glossary in the back.
For sure, that's staying
and
in
the
there.
acronyms.
Yeah, we play alphabet soup a lot, so super helpful.
All right. Next item, resolutions for passage. As a note, last month, Justin asked us to vote on our resolution 003-2025. That passed. So the next one that Justin's putting on is 004. Let's say a couple words about that one.
Yeah, this resolution is a companion resolution to one that you passed in the fall of last year. Essentially, this is an ODOT project. It doesn't go through us. We don't have any of our funding in this project. But just because of how our documents work, this has to be listed in our TIP, our Transportation Improvement Program. When this resolution was originally passed, they had most of the funding figured out, but there were still a few unconfirmed sources of funding. In that time, they have since identified those sources of funding, and this is just us updating that resolution to show that those funding sources are confirmed now.
All right, that's the last of the agenda items. Any questions? Announcements?
I have a question. Eastgate will have an annual meeting in May, is it?
Yeah, so keep your eyes peeled. We'll be sending out save the dates. It will be.
Do you have a date?
May 15th. Yeah, it'll be in the morning again. So we'll have more to share as that agenda comes together, but.
Just a long
Needed
morning.
a date.
Yep.
Just a long morning session only.
Yeah. It won't be the full morning. Like we did a couple years ago, we did a really long one. Trying to keep it tight.
Yeah.
People at the lunch break.
Yeah, you can't sit there for too long. We only have so much to say.
All right, any other comments? All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
I was just.